A retired soldier was taking a high-speed train when he suddenly noticed a suspicious man on the platform. The man crushed his phone right after a call and threw the pieces into a trash can. At first, Bud didn't pay much attention, but as a veteran who had served on the battlefield, he had a natural instinct for danger. Not long after the train departed, Bud noticed a panicked train attendant anxiously scanning each carriage and knocking subtly on the restroom doors. Seeing his children still on board, Bud, determined to prevent any potential danger, approached the attendant and identified himself as a London sheriff. After confirming the attendant's credentials, he was quickly pulled into a nearby staff room.
British Transport Police have put out an alert on a possible suicide bomber attempting to board a London-bound service. We've been ordered to stop the train at Barnet Shed. It's a derelict depot out in the sticks. SO19.
SCO19.
They're going to board the train.
How long till we get there?
7 minutes.
Although the armed forces had already been deployed at the next station, Bud knew that if a suicide bomber was hiding in one of the train's restrooms, any sign of alarm could trigger the explosion immediately. Glancing at his sleeping children, Bud realized he couldn't sit back and wait for disaster. He took the initiative. First, he identified the restroom where the suspect was likely hiding, then stepped into the corridor and called the attendant, instructing them to open the door as soon as he gave the word. Bud planned to seize the suspect and throw them off the train.
Do it now.
The man inside turned out to be the same person Bud had seen at the station, but he was merely using the restroom and showed no suspicious behavior. Relieved, Bud told the attendant the threat had been neutralized. After letting out a sigh of relief, he headed to the restroom himself to calm his nerves. There, he noticed the person inside wore traditional Middle Eastern clothing. Bud immediately switched to the woman's native language to communicate.
Assalamu alaikum.
This tactic worked. The woman's intense emotions began to ease. Seizing the moment, Bud empathized with her, passionately condemning the atrocities committed by locals, hoping to stabilize her further. But just as things seemed to settle...
Don't do that, don't move, stay still, please! Just stay still, please! Just stay still, don't move, please, please!
They say calm follows a storm. Bud quietly called the attendant again, instructing them to evacuate passengers from the adjacent carriages. Once he saw his children safely evacuated, he softened his tone and chatted gently with the woman. He learned that her name was Nadia. The seemingly harmless Middle Eastern man from earlier was actually her husband, the same man who had brainwashed and coerced her into this situation. To gain her sympathy and convince her to disarm the bomb, Bud showed her a photo of his children, appealing to her deepest sense of love and humanity. But just then the train pulled into the station, and police sirens blared outside. Startled, Nadia slammed the restroom door shut. Bud knew he could still stop the tragedy.
You've been brainwashed. He has. You have. And I know. I was in Afghanistan. Some mates get killed, nearly got killed myself for what? Nothing. Politicians, cowards and liars, ours and theirs. People full of talk that will never spill a drop of their own blood, but you and I, we're just collateral damage. Don't let them win, Nadia. Don't let them win.
At this time, riot police had surrounded the train, and there was even a sniper positioned nearby. The officers, unaware of the delicate situation, stormed in yelling and shouting. When they reached the restroom, they barked at Bud, who was finally making progress, demanding that he step away and get off the train. But Bud ignored them. Instead, he asked Nadia to raise her hands and hug him tightly to block the sniper's line of sight.
Stand down. Out.
Out. Steve, that's it. Don't do this.
Get out of the fucking toilet.
No.
When the two of them finally emerged from the restroom, Bud continued holding her tightly, knowing it was the only way to protect her life. Seeing this, the officers had no choice but to stand down.
Expo.
Soon the bomb squad entered the train. Under Bud's calm guidance, Nadia carefully removed the detonator hidden in her sleeve, then slowly unfastened the bomb's harness. Once everything was safe, Bud gently held her hand and led her off the train. At that moment, they turned and saw Nadia's husband, the man who had manipulated her, being arrested by the police. The imminent threat had finally been eliminated.